This is a side of microwave popcorn you don't usually see. The buttery mix packed away inside the bag. The very same thing you can't see but can taste is now being blamed for making popcorn workers across the country gravely ill.
The only thing that they ever did wrong was go to work.
In the small town of Ridgway, Illinois, inside this factory, microwave popcorn was pumped out by the truckload. Now, some of the people who worked there say they can barely breathe.
I mean, it feels like you just can't get air sometimes.
I would get this very dry cough. I really had a hard time breathing.
It's like somebody sitting on your chest.
There's new concern those same symptoms will be repeated throughout the food industry. Workers in Chicago and across the country who make an array of snacks, cakes, chips, candies. Consumers who eat the snacks in question will be hearing more of this word, diacetyl. That is the ingredient that adds butter flavor to more than 100 foods, including microwave popcorn. It is also the chemical culprit now suspected of causing lung disease in workers who inhaled it. You probably know the smell. Rip open a bag and it hits you in the face. It is that aroma, the diacetyl, added to microwave popcorn to give it a butter flavor that brought stunning results in a recent government study.
So it was pretty dramatic evidence in these animals.
When researchers at NIOSH, the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health, exposed laboratory rats to 6 hours of diacetyl fumes, they were stunned by their findings.
There was evidence of severe damage to the airway lining, basically, of these animals that extended down into the lung. This to us was striking.
The NIOSH researchers were the first to link workers exposed to the butter flavoring with lung disease. So, if the people making it are sick, are the people eating it also at risk? It is a question the Environmental Protection Agency is now taking on, studying the type and amount of chemicals emitted when a consumer opens a bag of microwave popcorn. The flavoring industry says there's absolutely no reason for concern.
Diacetyl occurs in 100 different foods around the world. It's an everyday part of our life, and people should relax, enjoy it.
They acknowledge workers are sick from making microwave popcorn, but blame some food makers for not taking proper safety precautions.
It's how it's handled, and that's true about diacetyl or any ingredient in an industrial setting.
A question in lawsuits filed on behalf of sick workers is, when did flavor makers know diacetyl was dangerous? The workers' attorney says a Chicago company may hold a clue, the recently demolished Bush-Boak Allen flavor manufacturer on the city's northwest side.
Bush-Boak Allen were taking precautions as early as 1991 for their own workers. Those same precautions would have protected workers in popcorn plants had they made them known.
All the butter and the packaging and all was done inside that building right there.
These workers connected the dots.
We had no clue that this stuff was dangerous in any way. It's a food. You know, how can a food hurt you, you know?
They worked in the same place.
I thought, well, why didn't they tell us that there was a danger of that?
Developed the same symptoms.
I got a wife, I got children, I don't want to go out this way.
Could workers in a manufacturing city as big as Chicago do the same?
Today, the Insider Exclusive presents Popcorn Lung Disease, the Jerry Blaylock story, featuring the law firm of Humphreys, Farrington, and MacLean, who represent people from every state across America, including Jerry Blaylock. They're familiar with the principal manufacturers of microwave popcorn. They know about the plants, the owners, and managers, and especially the litigation history of each hotspot. And that's why they have successfully tried the only jury trials in the country, with over $53 million in jury verdicts and hundreds of settlements against the manufacturers, who still protest that it was the employer's responsibility to follow safety instructions. Hi, I'm Steve Murphy, and this is the Insider Exclusive, live from Independence, Missouri at the law firm of Humphrey, Farrington, and MacLean. It's my great pleasure to introduce Ken MacLean. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Steve.
Today we are talking about popcorn lung disease, and your firm does a lot of cases like that, as well as consumer protectionism. Tell us a little bit about everything your firm does.
Well, our firm specializes in toxic torts, toxic materials that injure people or property. We've handled all kinds of materials over the years, from asbestos to cigarettes to PCBs, lead exposures, all kinds of things. And one of the things that we're doing quite a bit of is representing people that have been injured by butter flavors in a wide variety of circumstances, mainly in microwave popcorn plants, but also consumers of microwave popcorn, and also other people that either manufacture the flavors or people that use them in different applications like cake mixes. Those are those cases currently.
Tell us a little bit about this case that we're going to be talking about today, the Jerry Blaylock case. What are the facts?
Well, Jerry was a person that was employed in a small flavoring company in St. Louis that manufactured butter flavors, but Jerry's exposure didn't come really from butter flavors, but from buttermilk. He manufactured in-house buttermilk flavor mix, so that they would mix these diacetyl-containing butter flavors in tanks, and then he was required to clean the tanks out after the mix was made.
So he was just cleaning the tanks out.
That's what his main exposure was.
And
yes.
there were no like warning signs on the wall saying this could be dangerous to your health or anything?
Well, no, and in fact they had no understanding at St. Louis Flavors that in fact this material was dangerous to health. They had not been warned by the suppliers of that material.
So he was also not wearing any mask or protective gear or anything?
He would during the mixing process, but not during the cleanup. So he was wearing masks to keep the dust out of his system because they mainly thought that this was a dust problem. And generally dusts are not good, so you try to stay away from dust.
Right.
But they would come in and clean up the tanks with hot water, and that would then release this diacetyl in large amounts.
And what happened to Jerry?
Jerry was diagnosed with the disease that has been associated with microwave popcorn workers, bronchiolitis obliterans, or popcorn lung, and he is on oxygen full-time. He's been evaluated, and it's quite likely he will have to have a double lung transplant at some time in his future. His breathing is in about a 20% category in terms of his breathing ability.
When does a person notice that they have impaired breathing? I mean, this is a gradual disease that gradually destroys your entire lung, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
So that you have to have a lung transplant,
That's right.
When do you really notice? Because there's been some misdiagnosis by some doctors, which they diagnose people that say that they might have occupational asthma, right?
That's right.
When do you really first notice something's wrong?
Well, that varies from person to person. I mean, we all, as we age, lose lung function, and so people typically, as in the beginning stages of this disease, unless it's some massive exposure which causes them to have an immediate drop in lung function, generally recognize over time, and we're not talking about a long period of time in most cases, but let's say over a year, that they are gradually becoming short of breath, that they're more fatigued, that they're unable to keep up with their work.
Right.
And we have generally anyone between 120% of capacity and 80% is considered normal. So there's a wide range of what doctors consider normal. So unless you're down below that 80% generally, you're feeling okay. Even if you've lost, in the case of somebody that was above 100% in terms of their lung capacity, like let's say a runner, let's say an athlete that would have a greater lung capacity than maybe the normal person, they lose a lot of lung function before they notice any deficit at all. And so it's at the point where someone starts to become short of breath when they're carrying something. It's when the people cannot do their normal daily activities. Typically when they're starting to fall into the 50% range before somebody actually recognizes, hey, there's something wrong with me. And by the time that you get into the 20% range, you clearly know there's something wrong. You're essentially a pulmonary cripple.
And this is all caused by the chemical diacetyl, correct?
Yes, diacetyl in the main is the chemical in butter flavors that cause injury. There are some minor chemicals that we're unsure about, but that's been the focus of all the studies.
And this is a natural occurring chemical in nature.
It's found in butter itself. It's what gives butter its natural butter flavor and taste, but it's found, as an example, in creamery butter in trace amounts. In these products, in the microwave popcorn products, in the buttermilk products, they're found in about a 10% quantity, and so it's a very much higher concentrated product.
Was it safe to eat microwave popcorn?
As far as we know, yes. As far as we know, it is. It's not a question of ingestion. It's a question of breathing this volatile chemical which destroys lung tissue.
Before these manufacturers sold this product to the public, were they aware that these chemicals might be toxic?
Various companies had different levels of knowledge about the dangers, but in the Blaylock case, as an example that you're talking about, a study was done in Germany by a German manufacturer of diacetyl as early as 1993, which disclosed that rats that were exposed to diacetyl had essentially emphysema of their lungs and great lung damage from breathing the material.
When they did this study, who was it distributed to?
It was not distributed. It was kept secret. It was held in-house.
So who paid for the study to be done in the first place?
The German manufacturing company did. They gave the data, however, to all of their customers on what were called material safety data sheets, and none of the customers sought the study from the manufacturer. And that was the situation in the Blaylock case.
Okay. We're going to have Jerry, we're going to bring him on right now.
All right.
So let's do that.
All right, thank you.
It gives me great pleasure to introduce Jerry Blaylock. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Jerry, you're a victim of this popcorn lung disease, right?
Yes, I am.
And I can see you wear this tube which assists you in bringing what, oxygen or taking carbon dioxide out of your body?
Oxygen.
And you have to wear it 24/7.
Yes.
How long have you been wearing this?
Since 2007.
You worked at this company where you acquired this disease for what, 13 months?
Yes.
What did you do there?
I was what's considered a compounder. I mixed up together the formulas to make artificial food flavorings.
Mm-hmm. And there was no warnings anywhere about the danger of this chemical?
No, we weren't aware of the dangers with this chemical. They were never gave to us by the chemical companies.
When you were diagnosed, what were you originally diagnosed with?
I thought I had a summer cold, and then I was referred to a pulmonary doctor.
Right.
And she made the evaluation with help from my employer.
Okay. And what was that diagnosis?
It's called bronchial
Litis.
encephalitis. It's considered a popcorn disease.
Right. And then how did you find Ken and his law firm?
He was referred by my lawyer that I had at the time.
Really?
Yes.
Because your law firm is the most successful law firm that tries these cases. I find it amazing. It's really the only law firm in the country that's won jury verdicts.
Yes, it did. Fortunately or unfortunately, we've had success that's been unprecedented against these companies because of the commitment that we've made to understand and to focus on this disease process.
Mm-hmm. Your unfortunate experience, what has this made you feel? What's your belief now with corporate America?
I believe they underhanded me and a lot of other people health-wise, and there's probably more than just this chemical out there hurting people.
Mm-hmm. What is your daily life like now?
It's like hell. I can't run. There's a lot of activities I cannot do. My doctors tell me I'm not supposed to do any labor, any physical labor. I can't walk a long way, and stairs is like really a mountain for me now.
Right. Now, this situation is progressively getting worse.
Yes.
So in time, what will he have to do?
Well, it's our concern and the belief that it's quite likely that ultimately Jerry will need a lung transplant. Now, we try to delay that as long as possible because the reality is that lung transplants have a very limited life. 50% of people after 5 years are dead after a lung transplant. 75% are dead after 10 years. Now, those survival times are increasing and they're getting better techniques to try to make lung transplants last longer than they have, but they try to delay the necessity of a lung transplant as long as possible. And as you can see, that's no picnic for Jerry.
Yeah.
He's got to live in this condition because the alternative, even though immediately he would have great improvement with a lung transplant, fixes the length of his life in the most likely circumstance, a 10-year time frame.
Right.
So there aren't any good choices here for Jerry. He's got to just make do the best he can to try to avoid getting colds or being sick or having further damage to his lungs from a wide variety of things that you and I encounter every day and don't even think about.
Right. How has this changed your viewpoint of living? You know, what do you do in your life today that you didn't do 10 years or even 5 years ago?
Just sitting around the house a lot, you know.
I mean, your viewpoint of being closer to your kids. You have 2 kids, right?
Well, I had 3, but 1 passed.
Okay. And you have some grandchildren?
I got 5.
Mm-hmm.
I do a lot of stuff with the boys, the older
Yeah.
boys.
Okay.
Like, I can still take them fishing as long as I don't overexert myself.
Right, good. By the way, Jerry, we hear this sound. That's your breathing machine, correct?
Right.
What is that exactly called?
This is what they call a concentrator.
Yeah.
It takes the oxygen out of the air.
Yeah.
I got one of these at home, but I got a big unit in my and then I got the unit that fills my own bottles now.
Right.
I got off them cylinders.
Yes.
I was getting 80 a week.
80 cylinders?
Or a month. 80
month.
bottles.
Wow.
And it was a nightmare.
Yeah.
So I got with this company, but I can't carry my unit, so they give me concentrators when I travel.
I got it.
And you can plug this into your car, and you know I can run it in there, and I
Right.
can run it.
Okay, interesting. Well, we have your wife with us today, Debbie. We're
Yes.
going to bring her on right now, so let's do that. I'm very pleased to have Jerry's wife here today. Debbie, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
This has been an ordeal for you, hasn't it?
Oh, yes.
It's over the last, 3 years, is it?
It's the last 3 years have gotten
Yeah.
where there's more attention needed.
How has, on the home front, things changed? Because Jerry has mentioned before the show that you've really kind of carried the ball there for a while.
Well, with, as opposed to
Before
when
he was healthy.
Yeah. He doesn't have the stamina to do things. I've always got to find somebody, hire somebody to do stuff around the house.
Yeah.
He has no business being on the roof or
Right.
taking care of minor repairs that he always just took care of before. I mean, even as far as changing the things in back of the toilet and stuff.
Right.
He's not able to do anything like that.
Obviously, you're well aware that, you know, when he was working in this factory, this plant, there were no warning signs. There was nothing
Oh, no.
to prevent this. So if you could say one word to those manufacturers in corporate America today, what would you say?
Make people more aware of what is going in our flavoring
Yeah.
items. There's just too many chemicals that go in. People can't be too careful.
Mm-hmm.
You just can't be too careful.
So you're extra careful on everything you eat now today anyway, aren't you?
Yes. I'm reading more labels and
Yeah.
you know, certain things staying away from.
Yeah, even reading the labels, sometimes they're untruthful too, aren't they?
Very much so.
You don't know what's in it, these chemicals, you have no idea what it is.
Right.
Well, we wish you the best of luck, and we certainly hope you, you maintain as best condition as possible. And I want to thank both of you for being on the program.
Oh, thank you.
is there any move afoot to put the flavoring industry under the regulation of the FDA as a non-exempt industry?
There have been discussions about that, and in fact, the Flavoring and Extract Manufacturers Association has, to a large degree, attempted to cooperate with the FDA in that regard, but certain members of the organization are against being further regulated. So there's a tension within the industry as a whole.
Right.
There are some members of the industry that I truly believe would like further regulation so that they can be certain no one's being injured. Other members take this kind of laissez-faire approach that say, you know, keep your hands off my industry.
Right. Well, if anybody has a problem with working in any industry, I would highly recommend that they contact your law firm, because you guys got lead detectives that get to the bottom of everything.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, Steve. I certainly do believe that we will try to do the very best job a law firm can do for anyone that comes to us with a problem. And as you can see from Jerry's case, we're willing to stay with it to the end, not willing to take the short settlement so that our law firm benefits and our client is disadvantaged, but we stay in it long enough and hard enough to be certain that our client gets the very best result that we can possibly get.
It's good to know, and thank you for being on the show.
Thank you, Steve.
Thanks for joining us. You can get more information about our guest and the issues at insiderexclusive.com.